23-24 capital plan update. Touched on a lot of that. Is there any other updates on that?
Oh, you know what, do you want to cover this now? I had it on my agenda, but while we're on it, these are the specific.
Yeah.
Those are the specifics I had on my agenda for capital updates, if you want to do it. Or we could do it in budget.
Yeah, no,
Skip it.
we'll join this right now if you want. Or we just skip it and put it in your meeting.
Go ahead, yeah, so that way we can wrap this
Right,
up.
because there's different people on your
Yep.
committee.
Yeah, so go ahead. Yep, skip it for here and we'll do it in budget.
All right, we'll forego 23-24. 24-25, I kind of put this on the agenda as to, we got to start thinking about it. We have 6 weeks before our next facilities meeting, and that's December. Next thing you know, budget time is already there.
Yeah, we have to give it to the city in December.
December 31st.
Yep, and we have that on the budget agenda too. And I think
Yes,
Dean's
for the
been
city.
working on it.
Budget
Bringing
comes.
it up.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to have a capital plan by then.
Yeah, we have one more. Meeting.
And I know right now, I don't know what we have, if we have anything.
I think Dean's been working on it.
So one of the ideas that we talked about is, and it jumps into number 4, so the HVAC mandate. One of the cool ideas that, Dean was talking and Scott and I had chatted about is the fact that that's a reimbursable grant, but we need to come up with the upfront money, and then we don't know how much we're going to get back. So it'd be pretty neat to kind of do the legwork and put that in the capital, and in hopes that obviously if we get it, great, and then the capital plan is reimbursed, and/or, in order to do the project, the city would have to front us the money. So I thought that was a really good idea to kind of put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. And in, that was all credit to Dean when him and I spoke about it and we looped Scott. And I think it's a pretty unique way to do it so that we're supporting a project that we believe about and that the city knows that we believe in it, and that's where we would put our money. So I think that's a real good use of a 24-25 capital plan once we have the logistics of the HVAC and the numbers. And the plan is to go for gold on the HVAC. And by that, I mean anything and anything that needs to be updated would be in there so that Dean is not working with Donna to rewrite the grant 3, 4, or 5 times. It's a one-shot deal, and we prioritize the list based on the school through Dean's recommendation going around with the custodian. So I think that's a really good use of it. It's a responsible and respectful use of the monies. And if we were to get 0, the city knows that we need it to do this project, then it would fall on them. And likewise, if it becomes reimbursed, then we could discuss it as a board in the budget subcommittee, and then hopefully at the full board to determine what we use that money for if we go back to the drawing board and have kind of a plan B capital budget.
If we get reimbursed.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I think to do it as a plan B, not knowing if we're going to get reimbursed, I think is just a lot of legwork to,
Right.
Because we wouldn't have to necessarily resubmit it. It would actually just be another proposal that I think would go to the Board of Finance. So we would have a month lag. In that time, we would have a facilities subcommittee and then a full board. So anything we would want to add to that list would be enough time to then appropriately share with the city and say, hey, look, we got out of the $400,000, we got 300 reimbursed. We want to use this 300 for insert. And then we would come up with a list pretty quickly. And by that time, Dean would have had 1.5 years almost under his belt to say, hey, look, we really need to do this project, that project. That's going to be the $300,000 and 3 bullets. So I think that would be a worthwhile use if this board was in agreement.
So in essence, our 24-25 capital plan would be the HVAC mandate.
That's correct.
Nice. One thing.
One thing, one-stop shop.
That just saved us like 6 meetings.
Efficient, right?
Yeah. Were you going to add to that, Dean?
I just want to clarify, when we say the mandate, right, there's a grant and then there's a mandate. So the mandate is for the indoor air quality and all of that, and then there's the grant we're talking about.
And that's the HVAC grant?
Yes, it's the
Okay.
HVAC grant.
But
that.
not affiliated with the mandate that the state is imposing per se?
Yes, no, you could use it for that, but you can use this grant for other things.
Okay.
Okay, but the mandate, they pushed it back to 2025 for this indoor air quality because they don't have enough of people to actually do this air quality testing.
Okay.
So that's pushed back as far as that goes, which is, to me, looking at a small piece of what we're talking about. But we can get these other things kind of
Included.
Okay. So I think you just got to kind of, when you talk about the grant is one thing and the mandate is another. When we talk
Okay.
about it.
All right, that's good clarification.
Yeah.
So your list is going to be much more comprehensive HVAC upgrades than just.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off of our, we have the study that we did and looking at different things in the study and just seeing what we can
Well,
jam in there.
From that study, there were certain things too that were identified as must-haves
Right.
and nice to have.
And
all
none
that.
of them are indoor air quality.
Oh, okay. So you have
what I
other
saw
things
so-
you can pick
from
from.
what I saw so
Yeah,
far, so,
okay, yeah, there was a lot.
Is this
that
the
came
building
out of it.
assessment that John did, that
Yes.
you're referencing?
Yes.
Well, he didn't do it, it was
He had
professional.
it,
done.
Right,
yeah,
exactly,
he did, he
yeah.
ordered it at our request.
That's right.
But that was,
We know
it was
that.
for that purpose, so that we could look at that for capital plans going
Sure.
forward. But I personally love the idea of, one item on our on our, yeah, I mean, that is, I think it just, streamlines the process, it makes sense. That's my thought on it.
Does anybody else have anything to add or mention on 24-25 capital plan? I'll throw one thing. I think someone mentioned auditorium floors. Which school was that?
No, that was, yeah, I actually, my case was any facility that we are renting and charging people to use should be kept in a physical state that is not, we'll say, past its prime. Like the floor at the middle school on the stage is,
Do we rent the stage to other people?
we do, yeah, a lot of
I
Dan.
think that came up last year as far
It
as
did,
getting
yeah.
that finished.
So there are things like
Oh,
that.
recitals.
There are places that do it, and if we want to have that, we're bringing people into our buildings, which is great to have people in and see our facility. But if we're charging them to use it and we don't have our best foot forward, people leave with an unsatisfied feeling,
Right.
and it's a poor look for us publicity wise too.
It is,
So-
but on the opposite side of that, when we're looking at what other work we need to do and the money that we don't have to do it, I think it becomes, in my opinion, not a top priority.
It's my understanding we
understand
can
where
do
you're
some of
coming
these
from.
things ourselves though. We've refinished it previously.
That's a dean call.
Yeah, it's a dean. They have done some of these things we've done, and we are charging people to use it, and we just raised that fee structure.
Is that the middle
Right.
school you just
I don't know if you
the
can
stage
stand
floor
and
at the
finish
middle
when
school?
our
What is
guys.
it? It's the auditorium floor?
Middle
That's
school,
the
it's just the
stage.
stage floor.
The stage floor.
In the
That's just
little-
one.
In the theater.
Our gym floors were in that state for a while, but they actually just took care of those.
Yeah,
In the
they
last
took
couple of years, they look fantastic. But that plan of continuing to maintain these facilities that we are charging people to use,
What building is that again? I'm sorry.
that's the middle school.
Middle school, TMS.
The high school one, I think, is obvious, but there's no reason to do it because
Is it a safety concern? It just looks like crap.
Looks like crap.
looks
Well,
like, well, it's actually probably kind of both.
Well, if it's a
It
safety
looks less
concern, then
than
why are we
optimal.
renting it out?
It's the safety concern is going to be the difference in the some of them are shiny, the slipperiness of the floor in certain spots. So you have a glossy sheen in some spots and it's down to the wood in others. So depending on what kind of I'm not a dance person, but if you did certain kinds of performances, I suspect that could be considered an issue.
How big is the floor?
I don't know. You'd have to ask.
The length of the gym probably, right? A little less than the gym?
No, it's
Oh, no,
where
it's
the
way-
theater
60
is.
feet?
No,
Yeah,
that's
I
a,
could
if
take a look
you
at it. I mean,
look where
I
they
don't
go
know.
in and have seats.
It may
the
not be as bad
auditorium.
as you think, to be honest with you, if it's not that big of a floor. I'm just-
Well, yeah, it's not huge, but
Is that something our custodians could do?
Depending on if you can buff and recoat, that's one thing, but if you got to sand down, and there's only so many times you can do that, so maybe a buff and recoat.
May just
I don't think
destroy
our
it.
guys would do that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But like the guy that we just had in here could do it.
Gary's pretty handy.
yeah.
Don't feel-
That's my wife. How that goes.
And I suspect
She's
Ally's
Gary.
gonna
Middle
have,
school.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this kid.
No, Gary?
and I'm sure Ally will have some capital
Could've buffed
requests
one
for
of my kids
24,
could do it.
25 as well, right? So it'll
You
be
heard
All
me,
right,
Jeff.
moving on.
Yeah.
Any other questions on,
just
if we could just check out maybe, see if we can fit that in, if it's worthy or not. All right, Dean, this one's for you. HVAC mandate update.
Well, he just
He
did
just
it.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, could
It's
we,
been pushed to 2025.
but what exactly, for clarification, what exactly is gonna be in the mandate and what isn't? Do we know that? What are the requirements all schools got to be done by this 2025 date?
Yeah, but the way it's going, I think they're gonna push it back again.
2030.
There's just not enough people to
And
do
how,
this.
once you get a school tested, how long is that?
Then it's gonna be a
for?
process. This could be a 10-year thing by the time they actually come up with, this is what you have to do. So all this is, from what I read so far, and I did not go deep into it, but I got an idea of, is they come and test balance, check your air quality. Okay, now what? Now you come up with a list of things to do.
And part of this test is also like lead and mold as well. It's not just HVAC.
Indoor air quality, I don't know. I don't know that answer.
From what I understand, it is. So
Yeah, I just want to chime in that I'm on each Thursday, I have a financial business manager meeting with Casbo folks, and this came up, and the one individual, and I gave the name to Dean, we haven't just called the vendor yet, who's actually doing this mandated testing at a school district currently.
Oh.
It was funny because he didn't want to give us his name. I didn't want to give us the company name, joking around, but he did give it to the group. So, we'll be able to, they'll have more information on actually what this is, what they're testing for and all that stuff. So we just haven't had a chance to call him yet.
yeah, our preliminary thing was like, this wasn't an inexpensive.
No, not at all. And that's a great question. So there's a couple things. I think I said at the last meeting, I went to something and they gave a big speech. There was speakers speaking on this, the legal aspect of it. And I went up to them afterwards with a few other people and we're like, it was a great speech and everything, but who are the vendors and how much does it cost? And they couldn't give us the answer. So once we call this company, they'll be able to tell us if it's by square foot, is it by classroom, is it by school? So we don't know those answers right now, but we think we have the questions to
critical answer
ask.
for us, budgeting wise, is once a school gets tested, how long is that test good for?
Sure.
Is it an annual thing? Is it good for 3 years? Is it good for 5 years? Because if we have to do our 6 schools and the mandate, now it's going to be December 2025, it's over. Now we got to get all 6 schools done in 2 budgets, which would be difficult, I would think, depending on the cost. So if we can maybe even we need to understand what's involved, how long does it last for, so we can get the ball rolling and we're not trying to do 7 schools in really 1 calendar year or two budget periods. I know it may be difficult because it's all the information isn't there, but from a budget perspective, we got to start planning, whether it goes on the capital budget or somewhere else. We kind of got to.
They're just gonna keep postponing it. Look what they did with the reading. Push,
Okay.
push, 'cause that's what they did.
So
It sounds
we
like
just don't,
No, I get it.
or do we just let it ride and don't worry about it until we.
No.
We'll see what these guys say.
Get the cost, yeah.
Well, the cost today isn't gonna matter because there's only 6 guys in the state that do it. If they don't have another 20, cost is gonna skyrocket.
This one was funny.
It'll be, you can't touch it if nobody else gets into this business.
It was actually under environmental hygiene. That's where they actually found them. So it wasn't under,
Yeah,
testing, indoor air quality testing. So it was,
yeah.
And if we do a major project, how long is that good for before it doesn't have to fall under this testing mandate? And that would
Well, hopefully
factor
they
into
do-
our
hopefully
stuff.
they
If
do
we
high
get
school.
something, if we get a system in capital budget for 2025 and we do something at, Southwest, how long is that good for that we don't have to worry about it for this mandate testing? A new system installed or a new upgrade or whatever it is. So just a lot of factors, that's all. Any other questions? Another bad one on that? No?
Ally or Josh, there's no video on the conference, on the call, just audio.
Okay. Sorry, what?
Oh, no, never mind.
Oh, it's all set now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, building capacity recommendation.
No,
You missed the
TMH
roof.
Oh, TMS roof. My bad.
6 years on this one.
So we went out on October 31st with Gale Associates, who's doing a roof project. And just to do like a little kickoff, he wanted to walk around. We looked at a lot of different components of the roof, on the roof, he was gonna do a lot more inside the building, trying to see where these leaks are from and kind of come up with a better plan. He took all pictures on the outside. He has a planned date of November 16th and 17th to do some test cuts, removal, just to go in and see what it's all about, and he can kind of build off of that. So, you know, he is waiting. He wants to see what our HVAC grant info is also, only because we have equipment on the roof and we have other things that we have to look at when you do a roof over and if we replace a piece of equipment, where does that fall?
Right.
So trying to work with him on that. So we're kind of waiting for him at this point.
That sounds like we don't have a price for the roof.
We have a budget.
No, we had a price.
Silktown, actually, we have a Silktown price.
Yeah, I
He
think
gave
we
us
do.
a price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
John gave us a price, it doubled,
Yeah.
Silktown.
right? So is he doing more, is he like doing this for you for, like coming up with another estimate?
No.
Or what's he doing?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a more of a detailed plan of how they're gonna attack it
Okay.
with this overlay.
Okay,
And,
so more like scope,
yeah, more
Design.
scope and kind
Okay.
of understand the project.
Good.
Don't ask
All
me
right.
how we got a price without understanding it completely, but that's what I've got, Scott.
No, I think we're right. I think, no, this was their first step. They went there, they had, part of their crew was outside taking measurements with their tape measure.
yeah, but
We're,
why are they doing that if they already gave us a price? I don't understand.
No,
I
it's a
think
different
this-
contractor. Silktown gave an estimate, a budget.
Yeah, they
Wait.
give you, a
But-
square footage, now layering it in and trying to figure out what I'm thinking. So is
Do
they
you
get,
guys, no, let me,
Pull out the
no,
Silktown
wait,
price.
back up.
Hold on.
They had, well, no, I'm going back to our meeting last year, when we sat and had we had those three estimates, the board voted on the cost to do the roof and the program and how they were gonna do it
Those were the three options.
with the price.
With a budget. Right, and Silktown gave the budget, but Silktown, I don't think they based it on a set of structural drawings, which is, I think, would be.
So how do you give us a price for $4 million without structural drawings? And why did we approve it?
They made, well, because we had to go one way. Either way, nothing would change in terms of what the options were in the path we go down.
Okay,
One was a glaze over the top of the roof, which
right, I
which would
remember the
last 10
three
years.
options,
And the other was to
Right.
replace the roof completely.
right,
So the one in the middle was the one the only one we could afford.
right.
Um,
But I just thought all that was done. And
Sure,
now
this
they
was
have
the
to
one.
do
I thought
it
this was
again.
like ready to go on their contract. and
Right,
Work
like
was
it
gonna
was
start
starting next summer, like it was a done deal.
It was supposed to have been, an engineer was supposed to go out and do structural drawings and design. I don't think it was ever done. I think
Well,
it-
clearly, if he had to go and do it with
another
us,
year
But that, how
it
do we
just,
get it, so this hasn't even gone out to bid yet.
yeah, because we were supposed to have stuff,
what
the
about the
paperwork
bid
was
was
going to
the
the city.
engineering?
We engaged a firm to fill out all the paperwork and do all the proper pieces to get it through the, remember this, this
Okay.
was,
That was the
All right,
engineering.
so we
firm.
still need a formal RFP to go out on
Correct,
this.
yeah. It's just another 7 years.
Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
I
And,
don't understand.
I mean, it just kept,
Oh,
going, and the engineering was,
Okay, so who's contracting with to put the RFP stuff together?
well, we approved the engineer.
the engineering piece was happening now.
Correct. That's
Gale
happening now.
Associates or Gale.
that's who it was, that was our middle
Okay.
pick.
So
So-
Gale Associates,
And
he's
what was
the
the price that we had a budget, I don't recall it, we voted on a budget, I thought it was, like, we had a contract
The contract was for the engineering
engineering.
services.
of $4
Engineering
million?
piece.
No.
No.
What was it?
90 grand or something?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
And they handled the engineering, they were gonna handle all of the paperwork and submittals required,
Exactly.
right? Isn't
Like
that?
an
Yes.
OMG.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get the concept,
Design
I'm
firm.
just
Just a
confused because
design
I thought we had everything in line in the project, the roof was gonna be done next summer.
Okay,
That's what we were told.
Well, it can
Well,
still be
that's-
done next summer.
okay, hold on.
Really?
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
You got till next summer.
Yeah, you're on the watch, you're on the clock.
Okay, hold on. So Gale Associates is preparing stuff and he's gonna be putting together a package. We have a date, when,
So it's my understanding that Gale Associates is gonna put everything that needs to be put together for us to go out to RFP for the roof.
okay,
That's what I took from our meeting, and that
Okay.
we don't need to take any other action until we hear from Gale. And I was very specific. I said, listen, we need you guys to help us out here. Dean and I are both kind of new to this. What happens next? And they say, you wait for us. And they're also going to get some guidance, or
We have to wait.
hopefully give us some guidance on the HVAC
How much have we paid?
thing that we have to do,
How much have we
because
paid Gail for their design?
I'll have to find that out. I wrote it right here to get a price on Gail.
That happened when I was my first few months on the board. I bet we could look in the minutes.
Yeah,
There was
but
also a
that's-
timeline
Well, it's
set aside
Scott. I
too.
mean, he's the one cutting the checks.
Yeah, but there was a timeline for all of these pieces to hit in order for us to meet the goal of when the roof would be installed. I'm sure that Marissa has notes on it because she's absurdly organized.
But
Thank you.
just 1 second though. Dean,
May 22nd.
hey Dean,
I'm listening.
so when John did some initial investigating on this roof, they got up into the structure between the purlins and the insulation in the roof, so that they were, I don't know if they cut it out or how they got it, but there was access up there. I don't know if you know where it is, or if you know where it is, or.
No, but we're talking about
Yeah, and
the,
he knows where it is. Gail's are aware of all of these particulars. That's what one of the big things he was doing, was looking up in there in the flashing system. I got some notes here.
Alright.
You know, framing layouts,
R30,
dimensions.
R50.
Yeah, so
Right.
Big space between
You know,
them, and
Right,
I think they have a good handle on what they're doing.
I'm sure they do,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if they got up to where John had been before.
Oh, no, they were up there. They had the man lift. They were, I left at that point,
He
but they
must
were gonna
have
get the
brought them
man
up
lift to go up there and get inside, and our head custodian was going around with him to get into areas we can get into. So,
Okay.
They're doing
Any
it.
other questions on the roof? I'm gonna kind of move this along and just basically put that on the agenda item for next time, where we're just gonna get an RFP update, we'll call it that, for the TMS roof. Is that fair enough? All right, cool. Building capacity recommendation.
So what we did, the homework that this subcommittee gave to Sue and I was to kind of, we had the drawings, the board had the square footage, we know what our buildings can hold, what it can't hold, and this group was looking for kind of our ideas on the buildings for the 25-26 school year. So that's exactly, let me take them down and pass around.
How exciting.
So that's what Sue and I did. This was exciting.
It is. Almost like
This was some
tomorrow.
fun work.
I know.
We need a couple.
And
We gotta write that down.
not to read everything, verbatim here, and you can feel free to take that home, but we put a lot of thought into kind of our ideas, and this is kind of a one shot we would have before the board would go out to an ad hoc subcommittee. But we want to really relieve the stress and the strain on our current K-3 buildings. So in order to relieve the stress and the strain on the current K-3 buildings, came up with the idea to remove 2 K-3 classrooms in each of those respective levels. What that would do is we would repurpose then Southwest School. Southwest School would become another K-3 building where we would have 4 of each of those respective levels. But not leaving it there, we didn't want to just leave a building that is viable and could still be used. So we, thinking outside of the box, Sue, myself, and Laura sat down and said, well, what else can we offer? And the things that we would love to offer in that building would be a 7-12 alternative school
Good idea.
for those students who just really need an alternative setting. The school would run on a shortened schedule, as other alternative schools do. Students would receive their core classes and a PE. They would also receive lunch. We would also hold our expelled students there. And the benefit of that, they would still work with our tutors because they have to be in an alternative setting. We couldn't lump them in the alternative classroom. So it would be an alternative setting. What's really cool about that is if our tutors had a question on geometry, they have a certified math teacher right there in the building. There's no lag time. The tutor understands, the student would understand. The job coaching and job shadowing experience would be offered at this alternative building to really kind of try to work with some outside agencies so that these students have somewhere to go after their shortened day, whether it be a part-time job or whether it be a summer job or whether it be a career if they were to graduate.
Right, yeah.
Our expelled students we referenced earlier. We would also like to hold a school for students with unique behaviors, and that's a behavioral program for our elementary. We spoke with Laura, and that's kind of where our spike has been this year, and I've informed the board on several emails, and there's some concerns. Not alarming, but if we could kind of offer a program for those students, I think it would be to our benefit, and I think our students would benefit, to be honest with you, and that's really what all of these programs are for our students. They're not for adults. The possibility with any alternative or behavioral program, if it's met with great success and the board were, after a year or two, to document that success, to say, hey, maybe we can offer 2, 3, or 4 or 5 seats to some of our surrounding school friends. And we would obviously, that would be at a charge, and we would discuss that with the board. But that's further down the line. But the initiative that Sue and I were tasked with, we had kind of fun with it. We even walked through the buildings and did some scouting to make sure that it would work. So it was pretty neat. And I just put a sample schedule there. Sue and I kind of, we like to see it, right? So what does it look like for a teacher if they're teaching in that building? And where you see the prep / and then the common planning. That common planning could be to work with that team of other teachers and an administrator, obviously, and a guidance counselor, social worker, but also to do that job shadowing experience, also to offer time like that. So their schedule will be pretty unique, but really student focused, so that those teachers know the students. So if I'm the math teacher, period 1, and I know that one of my students having a tough day, I would immediately talk to that student, call the guidance counselor, call the administrator, talk to them. They would have a conversation so that they're not going through that day feeling that deflated and dejected. And, then, it eliminates any potential behavioral issues that may happen because of that feeling. And we know our students come to us with a variety of things each and every day. But the teachers in this program would know those students, know what's going on, and we would in turn be able to offer just a better program for them, as well as a better program for our expelled students, as well as a better program for possible behavior interventions. There's a possibility to look at behavior for other grade levels, but, in speaking with Laura, and obviously this was our first go at it, that's kind of where we would see the benefits right away. And then we could hopefully, re-engage those students back into the quote-unquote traditional school setting. Exactly.
And it still leaves the other school available for the community to, right?
Correct, in the evening, 100%.
Yep.
Sure, go ahead.
How does this impact staff? So you would
Great
no longer
question.
have a principal?
You would. So this school would have to have an administrator, 100%.
Okay.
Administrator, we'd have to have a social worker, guidance counselor,
Secretary.
and/or secretarially, most likely, we'd have to just see dependent upon numbers. But where we would see some cost savings, if that's where you're going, since our next meeting is budget, we do incur cost to use for our expelled students currently. And the cost, I'll use your word. But if we would use those finances to fund the teachers first, and obviously administrators and any tertiary services we would need. And then we would come with a delta to the board and let you know that if this is an idea that the board would like to pursue, this would be the final cost. And that final cost would be that delta.
Is there enough room in the school? 7 to 12 expelled. If we had more, is there room in the school to accommodate more?
For expelled or for alternative? So there's two different questions there.
Or either.
100%.
Okay.
It's gotta be a lot of-
Is there
hopefully we'll have
unused
amenities.
space?
So if you think of it just from a classroom perspective, right now there's roughly, I'll say 15 classrooms, just to keep it rough. I think there's 18, but let's just use 15. If there's your math, your ELA, your social studies, and your sciences, your 4 core, and your PE, that's only 5 of those spaces.
Okay.
And if our expelled students, let's just say we have 9, that's only 3 rooms. So we're at 8, we'd still have cushion and the behavioral room will take up 1. We're still pretty good with 9 rooms in our pocket, so to speak, not that we want to max out the space, but it's a great
Plus there's
question.
offices and that could be used as
And my other question
for
is
smaller rooms.
the playground, because that was just new, like upgraded, whatever. Would that stay there, go to a different building?
Why would you keep it there?
At Forbes, you talking about? What are you talking about?
Talking about Forbes, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the playground equipment for the preschool?
Preschool
Yeah.
playground?
So if
Preschool
you're,
wouldn't still be there.
if you're talking elementary, potential behavior program for elementary students, you would want to utilize that playground.
Is it-
for them?
It could be
Potentially.
retrofitted.
It could be, okay,
for-
okay.
Yeah.
That's- I just,
Thank you,
because it's
Sandy.
new, you know what I mean? And they just
Mhm.
made it just,
Yep.
We put a new elevator shaft in the high school, we gotta rip that down pretty soon too. So
Yeah.
It happens. Sue and then Jeff.
Okay. What about districting? We're eliminating, no, we're not eliminating sister schools.
We're adding.
We're adding. So, I mean, what have you thought about that? As far as
Who would go where?
busing and, would we have to redo all of that? Or would we go back to neighborhood or areas of town? How would that?
So Sue and I kind of,
Yeah.
we did think about it. Our homework assignment was this.
Right, sorry, yeah.
We were not going for the AP credit. However, we really thought that, when the ad hoc committee got together, that would really be the crux
The
of that
task.
conversation. If the board was in agreement with kind of this skeleton outline, which
Concept. Mhm.
is, I think, pretty
I love
unique
it.
and offers a lot to our students. I think, whenever you kind of talk about the where students are going to go, whether it's a neighborhood, whether you draw lines, whether, obviously that brings a lot of feelings and emotions for a lot of people. And I understand that and I respect that. But I think if that ad hoc committee, I know from what this group had talked about, would kind of be comprehensive, then I think if everyone's on the same page, I think, I don't want to ever say the word easy because it's not going to be easy when someone says your school is here or here. But I think that people will understand the rationale behind the decision because they were at the table making the decision. But this framework, I think, allows that decision to be made with a lot more ease. And I don't want to speak for Sue, but that's kind of where we were ping ponging.
Yeah, you need this first.
Right, and
then-
that's what we were looking for from them, so that's helpful.
Right, and then toss around some of the options for,
So
that
there's
gets to
room in
your
Southwest for
question.
4 more kindergarten on the first floor?
There are.
Southwest has a
Right
unique. Southwest has a unique feature that they have two exits that are considered first floor, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you actually get a lot of that. Technically, there's some extra space there for kindergarten classrooms.
Was that your question, or do you have another?
No, my question was I had 2 quick ones. I'm assuming based on this that you're proposing 4 to 6 becomes intermediate school at the middle school.
That
was the assumption we were given.
Yep.
Yes.
And then the second question is, what about pre-K? Because there's discussion of the mandatory pre-K. Was that taken into consideration at all with this plan?
Yep, 100%. So by alleviating the stress, if you look at Vogel, for example, we would have freed up 8 classrooms at Vogel. Our current pre-K is who we're allocating for right now. So that whole mandatory pre-K issue, which is all over the map currently, we would be able to cover our current pre-K. But we do have 8 rooms in each of the respective other buildings that we've eliminated some stress from. So if that were a conversation that the board wanted to take, that the state ever came down and started to mandate, which at the last go round, I was told otherwise, but we'll wait and see because it is a moving target. But we would be able to accommodate currently what we have in one of the other buildings.
Great.
Oh, any other questions?
And that would eliminate Ed Advance?
Yeah,
Probably.
and save us how much?
Would depend.
It would save us money. I don't want to ever eliminate any
Right.
partner that we've had.
Well,
No, I know you didn't mean it that way.
Yeah,
But
I didn't mean it that way.
I would, no, I know you totally didn't. I would just say that we were very thoughtful in our approach to providing the best opportunity for our students.
Absolutely.
And if this is the opportunity that we can, and obviously save finances from one of our other partners to fund this program, we have to think about our students first. And I think that the partnership that we've had with other people have been great, and I'm sure that it'll still be there. But if we were to remove this, yes, then the answer would be we would no longer use their services for that.
I have a question. So when we did that, wasn't there some obligations that we had to meet in terms of the sale of eSchool with Ed Advance? Are there any obligations that we have to worry about
I
contractually?
remember if the obligations were not that we would provide a
Right.
certain number of kids, it was that we would get a certain rate for the kids that we did supply. Not that
Okay.
we would have to supply kids. but
Okay,
that
fair enough.
we
I think
did.
that expired, it was 5 years, I think it expired.
I believe it's 10, but yes, Mr. Kisco is correct, and I believe that is exactly the way the agreement
Okay,
was
so
drafted.
no obligations there.
10 years
So
at a
question-
discount?
I'm sorry?
10 years at a discount?
I think it was 5 at the higher discount,
Yeah.
and then another 5 at the lower rate.
The lower,
Correct,
yeah.
yep. So you're right in the higher discount, correct.
Sue?
But from my perspective, I like the idea of all of our students being under our umbrella and not, so that way we know what they're getting for curriculum, the hours that they're there, and everyone is being treated, under our expectations. Because once they leave us, we don't know
Oh, I know.
if they even ever come back.
That's correct.
Yeah, so I really like this proposal
Yeah, I did too.
and the concept of offering these services to surrounding towns too, if it works.
If it goes through, we'll have to change our expulsion policy.
No, because
So
we'd
it
be
says it
covered,
can't be on school grounds.
alternative setting.
School.
It would still be an alternative setting, and that
Okay.
would be a different embodied. We'd be covered legally.
Any budgetary impacts as far as staffing by
There will be.
running the alternative education? Is that how much of that would be offset by the Ed Advance?
So that would be the
What's the
delta I was
delta?
speaking of earlier. We haven't, dependent, just doing some, obviously rough math, very rough. The teachers would be covered. That would be kind of a flat.
Yep.
But obviously bringing a social worker or guidance counselor, that would be an additional cost. The administrators we currently have, so if we were to leave the administrators in play, that would not be a net zero there. But we would probably be looking at a social worker and or a guidance counselor just for that first piece, but then the behavioral piece would need a specialized behavior person by 1 or 2 paras. So that, in essence, we're looking at probably 5 to 6 additional staff members.
But we're
How
paying
much do we
50,000
pay per
50,000 a
expelled
kid.
student? 50,000,
50,000 plus.
Yeah.
right?
In
And
the
how,
first
times
five.
however many kids we have there right now. So I mean, no matter how you slice it, it's not gonna cost us, I don't see it costing us anything more.
Well, I
If
looked
anything,
at,
we're gonna
so
benefit.
I looked at the delta of what's outgoing now,
Mhm.
and the outgoing would roughly cover 5 teachers.
Okay,
So that's why we based it, when Sue and I had talked, we took those 5 out. That's why I said core. So core's covered, admin's covered because we already have admin. The other piece would be the guidance counselor, social worker, which this program 100% needs. That would be a non-negotiable because we're talking about making a community. And then obviously the behavior specialist and those 2
maybe a
others.
school nurse, perhaps,
Possible, we can
or
possibly do a share.
rotating, like
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, things of that nature. But I think, there'll be some cost, but I think the benefits would outweigh the cost. And obviously, if the plan was to eventually include outside, and that would be a 2 to 3 year window looking out, that would offset those costs as well. So we're actually, I think, doing it the right way. And I like Sue's analogy of this piece being first, right? So if we can fund it in the future by looking ahead and providing for our students at the same time, yet offering the wonderful plan to others, and it becomes a net zero for the Torrington Board of Education, I think that's a home run, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
You mean outsourcing those services to surrounding towns?
If it were to become successful after 1 or 2 years of data, and we felt that it was a program that other schools could benefit from,
There's no non-compete or anything with Ed Advance, is there?
we wouldn't be competing. It would be, we would not,
No.
we're not in a profit
They're not our
industry.
problem.
We can't do it.
No, I don't think we should be looking at that. I think we should look at this as a starting point for the ad hoc committee
Right, this is the-
and see how it goes.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
where's
This is
how
the
place to
outline.
start. This is
Yeah,
exactly-
it's a great starting point.
It's
Thank
the-
you.
It's the
Thank you,
outline
guys.
for
All
the.
right, any other questions on, nice, well done.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
It's all Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
The last one is for
And
Dean, I
you
guess,
too.
water heaters.
Oh, all right. We,
Fix those things.
these are Forbes, I'm guessing Forbes water heaters, right?
Yeah.
I believe they were.
First and third floors,
Well,
yeah.
those are the only ones I've been working on, so I hope it's Forbes, but we're going through some process of getting, I walked through the building a couple times and just trying to figure out the best way to handle it. The boiler room, the lower water heater that is the oldest needs to be replaced, but I'm looking at replacing it with an electric water heater instead of a gas. The usage of that water heater now is nowhere where it was. Used to do the showers, it used to do this. All those places are closed up right now. So for what it's being used right now, we could probably change fuels, which is going to be a win, because some of the stuff isn't up to code in there anyway. So, and then as far as the third floor goes, I'm looking at possibly the water heater is not as old. I'm looking at a safety device that goes on there that will sense any leakage. And if it senses leakage, it shuts the water off and kind of protects you. There's a pan underneath it, so it would catch it. If something blue, that's one thing, but if a typical leak on a water heater, something that should be put on any water heater that's above anything really nowadays. The technology's there. Whether you want to use it or not is another story, but, so I'm looking at those two. I do get some numbers, but I still got to get more numbers in there.
And those two things are on the capital plan as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got,
I just got to get an electrician over there to look at the, to bring electricity over from, that's the only thing. I have prices on the water heaters and the other stuff.
all right, cool. Any
Thanks,
questions on that?
No.
All right, topics for future meetings.
Most of the above.
I got tech update and social, that's gonna be our standard here for facilities. We'll just do a 4-year update, not too much detail, just give us a status and where we are as far as executing those plans. 23, 24, I guess I'll leave that on there.
I have it on budget too, so if you do
Yeah.
it, we can both bear it, but we do have the items for them, just the things we were waiting to hear on. We should be able to wrap.
23, 24, because we got, what, 5-6 weeks before our next meeting? December 13th?
December.
You're December 6th, I'm the week
No,
after.
no, we move up a week. We are November 29th, you are the week after that.
That is
But
correct.
you guys get 4 weeks.
Oh,
Back to 4.
All right, so we got
Want to make Christmas Eve?
What happened?
4 or 5 weeks.
You thought you had 6.
I'll be there.
I make a motion to adjourn on that meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, 24, 25, 5 weeks. We'll just review the completion status. Let's reel that back in. What we gotta do and what we don't have. Then 24, 25, come up with some plan. TMS roof, we'll put down here an RFP update. You may or may not have anything, but we'll see where we are. Anything else anybody would like to add or talk about? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Don't you want to update on the water heaters?
No, I think we're good for that.
Those are my items.
I think the
We'll get it done.
HVAC mandate and water heaters we'll do in 2 meetings.
January.
Yeah. Right, because we don't have to vote, if it's already in capital plan, if he wants to fix
Right.
the water heaters
He can
between
do
now and
whatever he
then,
wants to do,
we don't
right.
have to vote on anything.
Yeah.
That's free
I
to
think we're
go.
done with
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Get your tool belt out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just to update us that it's been done.
sure. Topics, comments for the good of the order. Start with you, Sue.
Good meeting, thank you.
Great meeting.
Good.
Great meeting.
All set?
Great meeting, very comprehensive.
Okay.
All good.
Great meeting.
You want a good meeting? A little bit long, but you're gonna good meeting.
It's a great meeting, a lot of information, but good information.
Necessarily long.
All right, excellent.
John, listen to you.
Compliment.
John threw that.
Josh? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff and
All right.
Gary, 7:37.
7:37.
So you have 10 minutes.
November
So let's
26th at 7:37 PM.
Tomorrow, Wednesday.
First, we have all the attendees. Roll call, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Glenn and Jeff.
Thank you, Ellie.
Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second for that.
Jeff and Glenn.
Public participation, Josh?
None.
So it's unanimous, everybody approved.
Yes.
Discussion next steps, capital plan 24, 25, we talked about.
Yep. That's enough.
Monthly financials, Scott, you want to start?
Sure.
Last month, you did a good job, you jumped to the points where we had questions.
Yeah, so if we
got
could
a
jump
lot
there
of
again,
feedback.
I have a bunch of highlight. If
Let's do it.
stop me at any point, if you have a question, and I'll see if I can answer it at the time.
Okay.
So-
Hold on, before you go, do we want to just jump down to the detail?
So this sheet,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Perfect.
I call that the 5-pager.
Okay.
Generally, it's 5 pages, so.
All right.
It's the expense budget performance report. So on the first section, I'll call it the 5111 totals. Right in the middle, you see behaviorist,
Yep.
BCBA. So I just haven't reclassed that yet. That should be 0. That's actually going to a grant. I just haven't had time to reclass that, so that'll be
Okay.
fixed next month. If we go down to the next section, the 5112s, about halfway down, you'll see behavioral therapy. So that's an individual that also should be in a grant, should not be in the general fund. These are
Oh, okay.
no excuse. They just weren't coded when the information got down to payroll, so I'll fix those.
The entire line item, Scott, 511227, the whole thing should go away? Or
Yes.
just the
No, the
entries
whole,
against
that's
it?
one person.
So we didn't have that in the budget line in our,
It's
We,
a grant paid position.
but was it in the budget we submitted?
we did budget money there. The charges that are getting charged there should not be getting charged there.
So GB.
It's an
technically-
individual.
That GB technically still has those funds available
It
based
does.
on,
It
that's
will.
where I'm going.
The expense
Okay.
will be reclassed. Thank you.
There we go, thank you.
Thank you.
11,000?
38.
38, 130.
Yes,
Oh,
we have
yeah,
38,130
yeah, yeah,
budgeted
Yeah,
in there.
that's just,
I'm gonna reclass out 11,132.60. So if we flip the page, if we go over to, again, I highlighted the OT wages on clerical. So a couple things, I'll just speak to that for a couple things. So without getting into too much detail, it's my understanding that some of the OT is due to the helping out with buses that are a little bit late. So, and a couple of the principals actually called me to see if they could still do that or if I wanted to send them home. And as soon as they explained it was a safety issue, I was like,
Yeah.
approved. So,
Is it better, would it be more cost effective to give them a stipend or pay overtime, time and a half?
like,
I want to hold that in abeyance because I'm working with some of the principals at some of the schools and the busing company to see if we could come up with a plan about
Okay,
late busing right now. So,
so you'll bring us something when you,
Yes.
when you're ready. Okay.
yes. So hopefully we could alleviate some of the teachers working later. Everything else looks okay on here to me. We're encumbering things. I think I went over a couple of these last time. The retiree insurance, just we see as a negative, but we know that by now that goes down each month as the retirees pay for their medical. Again, the sewer, we know why we're so crazy on that number, but neither Dean nor I have gotten down to City Hall to find out why exactly, the usage went through the roof.
Okay,
So,
so you're still, you're gonna still look into that?
yes,
when you
we're
have a chance?
definitely going to look at it at some point
Okay.
because, like I said, last meeting, I told you I had last year's bills versus this year's and just the usage was just out of whack.
Mhm.
Although the price did go up, but not
Not that much.
not the usage, yes. Then if we flip over to 4 or 5, again, I pointed this out last month, but I got into the detail in the past couple of days. I just hadn't had a chance to do any reclasses. So if we look at 553005, licensing, warranty, and contract, the actual offset to that is going to be on the bottom where we see 561001, instructional supplies. So what had happened, and actually Sue was kind enough to spend a little time with me today, and we went down the list. So just some instructional supplies or instructional aids are actually have hit the licensing and warranty line erroneously. So I will get those two back into sync. And also on the, before I hit the tuition line, also on the instructional spending, what was in there as year-to-date spending was part of the English, I'm sorry, not the English, the Italian class we were going to do online.
Yep,
So we actually encumbered the money, but we're going to close out that PO and they're not going to charge us anything.
Okay.
So we're going to get all of that back and that'll happen over the course of this month. If we go about halfway down and we go to the 5561 area, you'll see tuition, sped, exploration. It looks like we're over by 30,139. I did speak to Laura earlier today, and she just said we have an extra student in there that we just didn't budget for, and that's why
That's
we're
what I
over
figured it
budget
was.
there.
Somebody got sent this year that we didn't,
Or the
Know
parent,
about-
the parent could have requested.
or chose to send them,
Yeah.
yeah, that's usually. Not better to extra students.
That's really all I really had to point out as highlights. If Anybody?
I have a couple questions.
Of course.
We've covered 4 out of my 6. 5430 on page 4.
On page 3.
Yes, page 3 of 5. The landscaping. Do you pay him up front?
Why am I not seeing 5430?
5430.2.
Oh, landscaping, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Do we pay, I think, don't quote me, but I think there's 3 payments. I think because we make 3 payments to him over the course of the year.
That makes sense. 64,000 times 3 would be your,
About 198?
it's 192. Yeah.
So he gets paid 3 times a year.
Yes, and that's,
Okay.
yeah, so that's why we've spent 192, right? Because I think the contract runs from April or,
April to April?
I don't know, I'll have to check
No.
when the contract runs,
It goes
but
dormant during the winter, right?
So it's a calendar year.
it's calendar year.
It must be, well, I mean,
Not his contract.
But I do know we pay him 3 times, so.
All right, if we could, we really want to keep an eye on that.
Okay,
It's Jasperson still?
yes,
Okay. In the spring, especially when we open up the fields again, we were hit double whammy with the dirt that got delivered and,
yes, I remember the clay.
Yeah,
and,
that was,
Do
full
we
of
prepay
garbage.
60,000? No.
oh, yeah, that's just to your point. That's 64. We've paid him $192,000 since July 1st.
Hope not.
That's, well, that's what it's, because you're
Yeah,
amending,
I'll,
right?
If you could just,
I'll
yeah,
pull
look
the
into that.
detail behind that.
Okay, so that one,
That'll
5430.
that'll take me 10 minutes to do.
Yeah,
so.
what's his total contract?
Well, they budgeted 198. We budgeted 198. No, that says 60.
Right, that's why I highlighted it. You can look at it.
Yeah.
Get back to us.
What was your next one? So-
Page 14, the utilities, do we
14?
pay that up front?
Page
What
4?
payment?
It's 14, it's
It is
50,
page 14, sorry, but page
it's
5 of
56,
5.
5620
Page
series.
14 of 14.
Which one is it?
5620 series towards the
Oh, yeah,
top.
they encumber based on last
Hospital?
year's numbers. So
Okay, all right.
Control.
That's why I just wanted
Yep, just
clarification.
based on last year's
It's
number, they
last
encumber
year's,
that.
okay, I wasn't sure where that came from. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this?
No.
Any other ones? No?
Sure not what we're paying the landscape.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely get that. I did have something else that I didn't put on the agenda that'll take me a second about our surplus.
Yes, that's on the agenda.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah, it's on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll wait then.
Yeah.
I didn't
Is
know.
it?
Where is it?
Oh, no, but it's in my notes, surplus.
I have a question about the surplus. Could you tell us
Go
about
ahead,
the
Scott.
surplus?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
tell us-
Okay.
tell us about the
Good
surplus.
question.
So,
Yeah.
you'll remember, I think back in August, I gave you the sheet that we're 219, well, actually, we're 419, 819.31, 200,000 was going to
The turf.
the turf, and we were gonna, the 219, we were gonna put for IT related to be determined. Okay, so between then and 10/20, I got a email from the city saying that we didn't pay the preceding 2 years of SRO. So which when I went and looked back is the case. So
Did they bill us?
they billed us. Oh, well, I don't know about 1920, but for 21, 22, they did provide a bill that had August 3rd on it. So I think that was lost between Ed and myself, so.
Yeah, wait a minute, we weren't even open in 19, in that school year, for half of the year. What are they billing us for?
21, 20, 19, 20.
2021 maybe? 2021,
No, they
2022.
probably billed us
information
for a
back.
I'm sorry.
portion
How
of.
much are they-
2021.
How much is it?
It was
219,000.
about 124,000.
That's for multiple SRO.
roughly. So,
Sorry?
Aren't we just paying
I-
half?
yes, that's half of what they were,
Half of 2.
2, yes.
Right. Half of 2 SROs.
So it's the cost of.
Yes, at the high school and the middle school, right?
So are you
Is that
sure that we didn't get billed directly from
I'm
the police
sure.
department and we didn't pay them?
right?
We
You
should
know,
look
I'm
into
not
that.
sure of that.
Let's look into that.
All right, I definitely looked into the city and we
Yeah,
definitely
but
didn't pay
look
the
into the
city,
police
so.
department
um,
first.
They just decide to bill us in 2023.
Well, well,
You're saying 19, school year 2019,
no,
2020.
the 2 prior years, so that would have been 22, 23,
In 21, 22.
21, 22. Yes, I'm sorry.
All right, so not
I get
COVID
my,
years.
my fiscals and calendars a little
19 actually
messy, but
started
the
in
preceding 2
2020.
years,
The kids came back to school in
So it affected the
20, fall of 20.
21, 22,
So
22, 23.
full year.
21,
Yes.
22, and 22, 23 would have been full bill years.
Right. So just look and see if,
The police, yes. Yeah, so that would bring us down to a surplus of 96, 296,598.90, 200 of it going towards the turf field.
so just to be clear, let's just be clear that we are going to have to forego instructional material for the students because the city decided to just send us a bill for the SROs.
Well, I'm not done yet.
I think we already
Okay.
So then,
It gets lower.
so then, so then based on, we're on Mike, I'm
Do you
sorry.
have something to hand out?
I don't, because we don't know the number yet.
What were you gonna say?
So based on a, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Sorry to interrupt, Scott. But tomorrow, I want to make sure we actually had an SRO at the middle school in 20.
Well, we got all the
We
details.
did it, yeah.
Let's get the information.
They just came, last year was the first, this
Well, no,
year,
we had one and then there were for 1 year and then we didn't have one
Then we
for a
didn't have one,
while.
right.
So
For
just want-
2021?
So
I
just,
don't know.
I don't
Okay,
think
no,
we
no,
did.
that's,
but we need
there
to,
was a
we
year
need
we
to
didn't
really.
that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah,
2021,
I
the
don't
middle
think we
school?
did.
I don't think we did.
I think last year would
Oh,
have,
yeah.
did we have one last year, or is this the first year?
Last year we had one.
Okay, so then that was the first year.
But didn't also at the high school, we didn't have one for a while?
No, we had David.
David was there for when my kids were there.
Has this already been paid? Have they pulled the funds, or are we still?
High school, we've had one all along.
Okay.
Go ahead,
They weren't
We're
Scott.
still,
pulled
Okay.
for-
So-
Yes, that's part of the.
so
deal.
based
Oh,
on a conversation Michael and I had with the mayor and the controller last Friday, the mayor had asked for the sheet again, and when I told her I will send it right over as soon as after the board meeting, the controller said, stopped her and said, we might have some more, I need some more time, so that's why I don't have a handout tonight, based on that conversation, that the comptroller
They have
thinks
it.
she found some more charges to go to the Board of Ed.
Found more charges
That they
to
haven't
come.
sent us
Yes.
the invoices.
Well, if we're going back, why don't we transfer the insurance for the past year?
Yeah, I was just gonna. Yeah,
We'll talk about that next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
We know where this
Let's
is
just
going.
get
So-
through this week.
Yeah, get all the.
We'll get it. We
Yes.
got,
Yeah.
the insurance is high on the agenda for next.
But to Scott's point, the issue of the surplus is concerning because we thought we had this buttoned up when we first brought it to the board.
Mhm.
The secondary piece, and we can 100% look into the details, because that's good details to look into in terms
Yeah,
of,
thank you.
are we being billed for an extra person?
Right.
Frustrating, and I could speak for Scott, because we've spoken about this, that now it's, oh, and there's one more, and there's one more, and there's one more. So it's frustrating because we came with a number. As I said, Nero, if we come with a number that we're presenting to our board, we want that number to be pretty lock solid.
Right.
So even after that first deduction, when Scott said, we will gladly bring it to our board, and then they said, well, hold on, wait a second. It just seems as if we're not going to have a clear number just yet. So, and we may be able to make our number clear on our side in terms of those things that Scott will look into. But, I don't want to speak for Scott, but that was our frustration that we shared after that meeting, in that we gave our board a number. We're not going to keep lowering a number and not give it to our board, number one. Number two is we need to know what's coming out, because we have to be detailed. Right? I mean,
Right.
there's no, so that's our frustration, but knowing that, we can look into these other things to put us back in the plus column. But unfortunately, what we wanted to have a surplus, which the board was kind enough to put towards tech, is now going to be just even shorter.
Have those purchases been made? The tech purchases
No, we were going to put that towards it, and that was going to be what we dog-eared that surplus.
into the into the
Correct.
city's request
Correct.
for
Yes.
transfer of capital.
So
Okay.
that's going to be just a lower number, unfortunately.
Well,
Hopefully not.
we have
but
other
Understood.
avenues, right? We'll talk about
Sure.
once you have
Well,
numbers finalized and go
Yes,
from there.
absolutely.
When does this have to, sorry, when does this have to be wrapped up by?
Go ahead, sorry, you're behind me.
I know, that's why I was tapping you.
Okay, go ahead.
You said that there are other things, did they give you anything like what they were related to, or just,
No,
could be anything? Okay, that's it, that's all I have.
Membership fees.
Maybe.
no, but it is prior years and we're in November, so it's a little frustrating.
Beyond frustrating.
Not a problem at this
Years.
point.
Jeff, you have
When do you,
questions?
when do you have to close this out? Like, when does this have to be closed out by before the auditors are angry? Just, we just went through the audit, trying to make sure that if we're functioning,
But
you
this
guys are.
part, this fiscal year isn't part of that audit, is it?
Well, but it will be the next time they do one.
Right, but
21, 22, 22, 23.
We're not the city
Well-
controls.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
I just
They
don't
should
like,
be incompetent at this
I'm
point.
100% with you.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure we're not giving an avenue for,
no.
that's
Everything's
not on
all
us. If they,
Can we say
documented.
no?
It's not our incompetence.
In terms of not paying,
Mhm.
well, seeing as they have the money.
They do all the time. Why not?
yeah.
all I would advise is that would be a board level decision.
Yeah.
If that were the direction.
But it
the
is an
board-
option.
He's not gonna confirm nor
All
deny.
right.
Well, no, there's I'll, when asked, I'll give the opinion. That is a board level decision, just as any decision to make a payment moving forward. If the board were to make the decision to cease anything related to prior years, because it is the board's opinion that things have been paid and accounting was done correctly, then the board would issue a directive to me, and I would issue the directive to Scott. So that is 100% an option. But obviously.
Do we have, I'm raising my hand, it's my
I'm
meeting.
sorry, does your meeting?
Do we have a contract that says what we're paying and when and for how many officers? Is there something to that effect that we can see?
So there is a contract for our SROs moving forward that we had to clean up that contract language.
Really?
And kudos, well, kudos to Chief Baldwin, actually, because he did a lot of legwork as well, because he was
Good.
not happy
I'm
how it
sure.
looked either.
Mhm.
So we're on the same page moving forward. yes,
Okay, good.
100%.
So if
I
we.
can't answer previous years.
If you have a copy of whatever these charges are that
I
they're
do.
sending our way, if we could see that,
Sure.
when, we bring it all together,
Yes,
and then we can look at everything together and make a decision as to whether or not we're gonna, what we will
Absolutely.
pay. Good.
But you also have to relations with the board and the city.
No, we don't.
think Jason's
That's
done.
done. That's
That's where
done.
I tried to steer the direction.
Jason has a
I
question.
saw it.
Well, and I know, Ms. Ferguson, you're going to look into it, but I know we had an SRO in 1920. We didn't have one in 2021, and then we did last year and this year.
Thank
Right,
you.
Jason, I think, so I know, right, so, but 2021, what about 21, 22? I'm not aware of one that year either.
Or no, 2021 we did not. No.
Correct,
2021
and what
beginning or
about
end?
21, 22? We didn't have one that year either because, correct, so we had one,
We had Officer Fox,
correct, we had Officer Fox in 1920,
right?
and then
No, but-
the next 2 years, to my recollection, we didn't have one.
Correct.
Correct.
And
Okay,
then
thank
we
you.
had, last year we had
We had Foley,
Foley, and now this year we have Officer
we
Gallagher.
have Gallagher, correct. Okay, thank you, Jason, because you just confirmed my thinking. So the 2 years you've been billed for, we didn't have one at the middle school.
so 2021, no middle school, 21, 22, no middle school. Okay,
correct.
thank you. Thank you, Jason.
And I did text. I was texting some administrators before I spoke, so they kind of said the same thing to me.
Yeah, no, I was right there too.
You would remember, Jason.
No, that's good for us to know.
Yeah.
Because we had Brian Fox the year that COVID happened, and then we went 2 years after COVID with nobody there.
So we should only be billed for half of the year at the high school for Cooper too. Because for the COVID year.
No, because this is 2021, 21, 22.
Nothing, we're not being
Nothing
billed for
COVID.
1920.
No.
Okay.
But it would still be half of the bill, because if we didn't have a SRO
Other
at the middle
officers?
school, yeah. So we have to look at that.
Yeah, you can't
So
take
the,
them for at their word.
so the bill that they sent you or
Presented.
notified you of was for for an SRO at each school or just the middle
Yeah,
school?
21, 22, and 22, 23 was the same, so 2 SROs.
We've only had one.
Okay,
We're gonna have to get the information, so.
I do, I have
Yeah,
it sitting on a
yeah.
folder.
yeah.
Okay.
Go get it.
Believe me, I have it. It's in its own little folder.
So you have some things that you can check into.
Yes,
And then maybe
yep, I'm gonna
Next
check,
time
we
we
played the
meet.
police directly, and then I'll follow up.
to see what they want, what other charges there are.
Yeah, well, that might be a waiting game, so.
Well, so we're supposed to just keep our checkbook open until they come up with a number? I mean, how long are we supposed to do that?
I think it's a conversation the full board needs to have.
I understand your frustration. I mean, and you're not wrong, but, and as I said, we don't like pitching something to the board that we thought was definitive, but we also have to share that this news
Just
is
coming down the pike?
correct.
Gotcha, okay.
But I
don't
don't
mean to
disagree.
shoot
No,
the
no, no,
messenger.
no, no, I didn't think you were at all. I'm just sharing our frustration with you. Nope, I got you,
About the city.
100%.
Can I ask my question?
Yes.
Sort of related. The whole thing that goes to the turf, right? They did that number is based upon something that happened a long time ago when they put the turf field in. We have to put in $200,000 every year.
No,
100,000 a year.
100,000. We had
100,000.
extra surplus, we thought we had extra,
Okay.
so we put 200.
Does that, how long ago was that? Like when they came
How
up with
old
that,
is
Six?
when they came up with that
Whatever the
magic number
field-
of 100,000?
Probably
It's
close.
$1
They put it
million,
in
it's
because-
being, yeah, so it's $1 million to update the
You have
turf
to
in 10
replace
years,
it,
replace
right.
it.
You have to
So we
replace it in
put-
10 years.
So we're putting 100,000 aside every year, so we don't have a bill for $1 million.
I understand.
Right.
So it's been
Seven
4
years. It
years.
was about
I was gonna
seven, no,
say-
it was more than that, it was almost
No,
7
it's more than
I
that.
was gonna
say
How
six.
many years ago did they make that assessment, do we know?
At least
Well,
seven.
Whenever-
When they put the turf field in.
Right, so how old is that?
At least 7
4
years
years,
ago,
right?
right?
No, it's like
Really
six.
what I'm getting
Before I got on
at,
the board.
do we need to reevaluate that number? Is it
Yes.
gonna cost more or less? At some point,
Of course.
So okay.
materials and
Oh,
labor
right,
went
right,
up,
yes,
so is that,
yes.
at that 15-year mark, is what we're putting in?
Well, the city took
would it be enough?
responsibility at the time, according to field. The city, it was their responsibility
Right.
to just put the monies away to replace the turf. That was part of the deal supposedly. So we'll have to revisit the whole agreement.
Well, why are we putting money aside then if the city was supposed to do it?
Well, they're providing it through capital plan.
Oh, and so,
Yeah.
all right.
They haven't kept the promise, by the way, but you know, Fiona has all the details on that and
Is
says,
it, I don't know anything about those things. Is it normal to like
I didn't know either.
reevaluate at some point halfway through? Should we get another assessment? What's it cost to replace that turf field?
We could add it, you could add it to a to-do list in
Thank
a
you.
couple of years.
Yeah.
maybe.
And we're already putting double in versus the original recommendation.
no, that was just once.
No, that's just,
No, it was $1 million.
yeah.
We
Right,
haven't,
but
we haven't been doing it.
I thought we've been doing the 200,000 for the last couple of
No, the
years
hun-
No,
we
no,
did
100.
200 this year because there was extra.
and last year.
No, we didn't do 200. Only one, we only did 100, I think, for the last year set aside.
Anyway, I don't want to make a big long.
Yeah, no, I
This
got
year,
you.
well, you say this year, what we have right now, that's 200. The year before that, the budget year before that was 100,000.
Okay, I thought it was 2, but okay.
No, we didn't do
Fiona has all
202.
the details on the whole,
I don't
the
think.
Yeah,
whole
just a
agreement.
question. I
It's a
didn't know if they-
disaster. City's supposed to own that field. The city's supposed to own it.
Mhm.
You know, they promised,
They,
please.
Yes,
didn't, they turned the field over to us. And that was a big, long thing where they finally had to turn it over to us, is my understanding. And also,
Right.
wasn't that $1 million, or it wasn't the $1 million, wasn't that part of the contract with the company that installed it?
that I don't
I
know.
don't know about that.
Okay, and I know
I don't know.
Fiona's, yeah, so.
I'll find
I
out.
know-
I'll get all the details, but that's good to know too, that it
Do we
wasn't
have-
reassigned back to
Which
us,
you need to think about right now, because if we're gonna, it's the thought of putting turf in the new facility.
which, that's insane.
It's insane. We'll never,
How are we
we'll
gonna
never
make,
have the money to
nobody's gonna be
maintain
able
it,
to maintain it
unless the city wants to own it.
in the new building, right?
The
And
big
they
fight
won't.
between
They
Traub
can't.
and everybody else was, I think Kenny did not want to accept the field, in my recollection, or the reverse.
Isn't that up to us?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, I would
I
think
mean,
so.
who makes
Well, on
that?
the
So we
budget-
have to maintain it.
No,
Who-
yes, it is our decision when it comes to the building committee.
Because that's a huge decision.
Look, it's impossible for us to maintain it. We won't get the
We
money.
can't even maintain our buildings. How are we gonna maintain a football
I
field?
brought that up in a couple of meetings,
There's also no money to do it currently.
Right, well, that's,
Go ahead.
well,
Alan.
no, they're going.
Can we
go for
check
a
our
grant.
files to see if the city ever
Problem is if the grant comes
really
through, I'm not
turned it
gonna go
over
for
to us? Do we have that in writing anywhere?
Fiona has all that information.
All right, yeah, I have a note to
I'm not
get the
I'm not
details.
sure it was, I mean, they said they were
I
going
know she
to,
questioned that too. That's why I'm not
but
saying
I
anymore.
just
Okay,
would like to
Right, yes.
all right.
make sure we have it in writing.
I thought the surplus interruption was gonna be a good one, Scott.
Next week, next time we'll.
We're marking
I
that
hope it
file.
goes back plus.
It was lively.
All right.
It was, yes.
You'll find it.
So the question, the answer to my question is, did you get the surplus transfer? The answer is no. Okay.
The answer is no.
Definitive no.
That's all you
All
wanted
right,
to know.
that's all I want to know.
We
That's
jumped the
same-
gun on
yeah,
that. Way to
'cause
go,
that's
Scott.
really- That was my question. Did you get the transfer?
TMI.
That's it.
I just said no.
Hot water heaters.
Yeah, water heaters. No, the vent kitchen grease traps. We
Yeah,
thought that was
we did
done.
heaters already.
It wasn't, did we find out, was it done? Ask Barlow when you talked to him, maybe?
I went and I've been investigating it. I'm going through the kitchen grease traps right now.
Okay.
There's gonna be additional stuff we have to do.
Oh, there is. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, so
Okay.
I'm working on it.
All
So
right,
chill about that.
Still without coming close to whatever the number was there, but
All right.
we're working on it.
great, thank you. The exterior window caulking.
Spring, no RFQ on that yet. We
No,
haven't done anything
okay.
with it,
So they had said that Burlington Construction was gonna do it, so there's nothing,
Didn't find
no
it yet.
evidence of
Could be in
that.
there, I haven't found it yet. I'm waiting for them to get back to
It
me.
should be at your fingertips, that stuff. Unfortunately, it's not, but, okay,
Add to the call.
yeah.
It goes back to
Just
that.
keep us posted.
Field wire.
Phil, it's
All
right.
right.
Yeah,
I had Torrington sidewalk follow-up, there was some talk about the curbing that Sandy had mentioned, I don't know if that's something that we need to do.
Still looking at somebody to come in and take a look at that kind of.
we had a quote on that, by the way. Just so you know.
Another
Actually, it was,
thing
no, it was in
you
our
can't
budget.
For a grinder?
Poor Dean.
Yeah, it was in the budget to go, to replace, not for the sidewalks, no,
So
for
was
the
that,
curbing.
did that number come out of
curbing.
our plan?
There was,
They took it out of the plan. They took it out of the
Yeah,
plan.
They
that-
did say
when I
that.
first started, that was in
So
there.
that doesn't
We were
mean that we
talking
got a
about
price
curbing,
for it.
so-
No, we did get a price for it, and it was supposed to go in, it was part of the plan, but it got taken out because we got shorted. It wasn't the priority.
was that the same time, Gary, as the catch
was RAR.
basins? Was it?
No. Before that.
was
No,
it was
no.
We're going
before
back
that.
3 years.
Oh,
It was the
jeez.
sidewalk and the
It was like
curbing.
March of 2021.
Well, curbing
was
confused.
Curbing was alone.
I'm a little
A
confused.
little bit.
The curbing was alone. That was a separate, Torrington curbing is all falling apart.
Right, but this sidewalk, this is like,
This is
kids could twist their ankle and stuff, and we gotta have somebody come in and grind them or
Yeah,
something.
that's a whole
and-
separate one.
There was
But that's
something
what this
about the
is, right?
level
But that's
of
what
the
this is,
sidewalks.
yeah. That's what
it was
this
the-
is.
Yeah,
the
he said
level.
curbing and sidewalk, so.
Yeah.
The curbing was done
Yeah,
already.
we're-
Resurfacing is the terms we're using, and I have an RFP needs to be written, and possibly get a hold of a grinding company. This is, again, I talked to
And
John,
that's, yes,
and this is what he told me. Nothing's been written for this so far.
okay. But that's the answer to the question of the Torrington sidewalks, because it was the unevenness
Yes.
of the sidewalk, so. It's
Curbing
on
went by
your
the wayside.
radar, and that's all we can ask for right now.
Might want to look at the curbs in Torrington parking lot.
The curbs are terrible in Torrington.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
If we're looking at sidewalks,
Look at it
curbs are
all.
gonna have to be looked at too.
I know there was a quote, in fact, we were gonna give it out, I think it was RAR that priced it, but anyway. He had a lot of stuff he was pricing, so,
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get it from him now, but yeah.
yeah.
Okay, straight.
It was a
Well, that's
RAR.
my question.
Well, they skipped,
Yeah.
they skipped, they reduced the scope of work because they save money by pouring, the concrete on top of the asphalt. It was supposed to be, all integral, but didn't work out that way, save money.
Jeff?
Speaking of the curbing and plowing, the contract that we're building, does this include provisions for that?
100%.
And do we take pictures, to prove these things, do we take pre-season pictures of the condition of this curbing?
Well, yeah.
Do that field wire.
Well, no, curbing was discussed at the building committee
Plug.
last year, and as well the sidewalks. We actually are talking about, we have to check asphalt sidewalks, which we shouldn't be, but that was a change order. Well, I think everybody voted against it. And then, because that won't last. They may have, I missed over the summer some of the meetings, so they may have put it back in. But, there was asphalt sidewalks throughout the complex.
For the new
And
building.
then for the new building.
Just-
And then some of the
Thank you for that
curbing,
clarification.
Yeah, I got you
So,
there.
yeah.
Target over
Yeah,
there.
I
some
got
of the,
you.
some of the curbing was also gonna be asphalt, which we have to check on, which is a mistake, but
Okay, that's the new building you're
the
talking
new
about.
building, yeah. But the
So
answer to your
nothing
question,
you have to worry about.
Yeah.
No.
not for you,
No,
but
So my question was,
going forward.
was pictures of the curbing in all the schools before the snowplow season.
Right.
So you have proof of what the condition
So
is.
like Torrington right now would be and I think that what Gary said is 100% right, because none of the other schools are as bad as Torrington.
Nothing's bad.
Yeah.
And,
You got rebar sticking out of that stuff.
and
So
yeah,
somebody's ankle
it's, the curbing is not good there. So you're right, take a picture so these guys don't ruin it anymore. Then it's gonna
That's
be
gonna
to
be
the
tough.
point though, where you're gonna have half and half.
No, I was actually thinking of the other schools where we don't have.
Yeah.
This Torrington Ford's a problem. It's been on the, obviously there's an issue there. but
Yeah, yeah.
All of our other schools where the curbing's not destroyed, if we have a before and after. So it's hard to go after somebody and say, hey, you damaged the curbing if you can't say, this is what it looked like on November 15th before the first snowfall.
Want to put that on facilities agenda for next month? Curbing?
Yeah, I'd like to move all this stuff because I'm just carrying it to see what the status
Here
of
she
the
goes.
budget item line items are, so
She goes
that
moving.
is definitely
She's
something.
Let's send it to Glenn's agenda. I
I'll
like
put a
that
note
idea.
to send it to you. We should coordinate our agendas, Marissa. Me and Glenn, yeah. We'll do that going forward.
Same with ADA.
And then ADA upgrades, we talked about it. I thought, I'm 99% sure they were done at Torrington Ford. Somebody was gonna double check. That was when, I think we had to do it when they did the second go around with the driveway. Right, Gary? Remember?
Well, they did have to do the
Oh, they
the
had to do it
ADA
like,
at that location. I
right,
don't
where
know
you
what-
go in.
You're talking
Right.
about in the school, outside the school. just-
And that's
Yeah,
done,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's done, yes.
right? So I don't think that can come off too. That was up in the air. Device protection summary, we covered that. Ally gave that in facilities. Right, Jeff, you had asked about that on this agenda, but I don't think we need to carry that here.
No, we
I
just
have
need to
here.
carry it in one place for an
Yeah.
update about 6, which is probably actually this one, rather than Glenn's. Just carry it on this one.
Yeah, because it's
Six-
the insurance.
It'll be a budget
Okay.
impact at this point.
it's a budget
Alright.
impact.
It's already implemented, so it probably can come off facility and technology.
Okay. All right,
One
so
on- one on.
other than device protection summary,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could take that off with facilities. All right, topics for future meetings. I think we have to talk about the turf again, so we'll get some information from Fiona on that. Capital plan, 24-25. We have one more meeting to do that, right, Michael?
Yes.
Monthly financials. In 6 months, I'll put a note on my calendar. Yes,
Just, I know that it's been a while, and I don't remember when we renewed our copier contract last, but I know that in the past, we had a list that was presented of when each of our contracts were ending, and we would need to start looking into those. And I don't know if that's something that we as a budget committee need to have that, so we know going forward when certain contracts have to be renewed, so things don't slip through the cracks. And I know that copiers, I forget how long we've had the current copiers.
Okay.
But just as a teacher who we're using them more and more now that we've come out of COVID and we're not so much on computers. So just something to throw out there for future thought.
It got better.
Scott, thank you, Jason. Have you guys gone through and done like an itemized list of contracts that we currently are engaged in? Do we know what we have for contracts?
No, I've not done that. But I did speak to, Ally and I did have a conversation about the copiers.
Yeah,
So,
you did. Is that good or bad?
no, it's good. I just told her that, historically to me, they've been a black hole and like, I'd like to
Take a look and.
take a look at our copiers
All
because
right, good. So we'll add that.
It
I
wasn't that
just
long.
say these copiers work very well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably
good.
3 years.
yeah, no, they do. And they're very responsive coming and fix them.
Fix it and stuff, good.
I feel like we just.
I just like,
We did.
yeah, the way they invoice is a
Got them,
little,
So it couldn't have been that
you
long
get 100
ago.
bills and you're just wondering where they go to, so.
Okay, so you're gonna look into it anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can we put the Comfort curbing, can we put that on the 24-25 capital plan?
Should be. Or sooner.
That could be considered a capital.
100%. Make a note for that.
Yeah, I think we had that for 200,000.
Curbing that
We use that surplus.
I think that number is right here. I think
Yeah, it was.
two something.
There's only one bid too.
That's all I have. Nothing else you guys can think of, top of your head, right? All right. Comments for the good of the order? Sue?
Great meeting.
Michael?
Great job. Sorry about the pluses and minuses of surplus.
right.
But
Scott?
All set, thank you, guys.
Dean?
So,
Jeff?
Good job and happy birthday to our board clerk.
Yes.
Yes, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Cupcakes are calling my name.
Gary?
Good job.
Interesting meeting, and don't anyone forget to vote tomorrow.
Don't forget to vote. I
yeah.
know.
Big day
Don't
tomorrow.
forget to vote.
Glenn, you outpositioned my signs in a lot of places. Yeah.
Josh? Marissa?
you gonna
Motion
share
to
those?
adjourn.
So-
Jason? Yes, Jason.
Just, I reiterate, please go vote. Good luck to all of you who are up for reelection for all positions. Hope to see a full board continue.
Thank
Hopefully.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion
Thank
to
you,
adjourn.
Jason.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff
Jeff and
and
Gary.
Gary.
8:15.
All in favor?
Get him, Gary.
All right.